most valuable skill you can learn is to become a dynamic, powerful, and exciting sales person.
Selling is a mindset and closing is an attitude, which is really the cause and the effect. And more importantly, if you have the right mindset and the right attitude to selling, then sales is the effect, is the ultimate destination. Welcome to Mindset and Attitude to Selling, where sales happen. Now, this topic I'm going to share with you is absolutely one of the most important topics I can share with you salespeople, you entrepreneurs, you small business owners, you real estate agents, and you realtors that might be struggling in producing more sales consistently. Because most of the times, in my experience, it takes the simple things to create and produce the biggest results. So what I'm going to share with you is a game changer. And I'm not trying to sound arrogant. I'm not trying to sound egotistical. These are just basic fundamentals. And that's how I live my life. That's how I run my business. That's how I teach. That's how I train. Because if you understand basic fundamentals, then you can build a strong foundation on those basic fundamentals, and which you can build on top of that strong foundation. Does that make sense? Now, before I dig into the topic, how to increase your value that will lead and produce more sales consistently. There are 3 steps. And with these 3 steps, you can call them steps, you can call them ingredients, you can call them principles. However you want to identify them, what matters is that you identify them, you do something about it so that you can get the end result, which is more sales and more production consistently. All right, let's dig into this topic. Now, before I share the 3 steps with you, I'm going to share with you 2 important analogies that I think could be very helpful in this topic. Analogy number 1 is this. Let's say you choose an area that you want to live at, or you want to move to a new area, but you want to build a custom home, and you already have the blueprint to that custom home. So once you identify the location you want to live, the land that you want to buy, right? Now, what you're going to do is hire a general contractor to build that custom home, right? So when you do that, what is the first thing that the general contract is going to do? Now, I'm not going to get into all specific. I'm just going to keep it simple just to share the analogy so that it can make sense with the topic. Now, what the general contractor is going to do is what they're going to break ground, right? Once they break ground, the next step they're going to take is they're going to put in the pipes, all the sewer system, all the water pipes, right? So once they do that effectively, what they're going to do next is what? They're going to cement it, right? And they have to make sure they cement this strong and right. Once they cement it, what do they do next? They start to frame the house from the ground up, right? Once they frame the house, they put the roof, they put the windows, they put the doors, everything on the outside is done. Now they start to work on the inside, right? Now, at the end, you have a home, right? But here's the key to building a home. Not only where you build it, but how you build it. What do I mean by that? You have to make sure that the foundation is so solid that depending on where you build, it can withstand bad weather, whether it's fire, whether it's snow, whether it's rain. hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquake, whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that the house is built on a solid foundation that it could withstand that, right? Does that make sense? No difference if you're a salesperson, an entrepreneur, a small business owner, a real estate agent, or a realtor. You want to have a strong, solid foundation in your business and in your craft, right? Okay. So the second analogy is a sports analogy. If you want to be a professional athlete, no matter if it's basketball, football, baseball, hockey, boxing, UFC, it does not matter. You have to have some basic fundamentals to build a strong foundation so that you can grow on that foundation and to become a top athlete, professional athlete. Does that make sense? Now, let me share with you the 3 steps that you need to focus on, that I focus on every single day. I eat, I breathe, I live these 3 steps every day of my life. So let's dig into this. The number one thing, and there's no shortcut to this, and there's no ways around this number one. The number one thing you must and have to change is the way you think, what you think about, and how you think. It's the mindset. That's where it starts. And it's not easy, guys. As we get older, we get stubborn, we get set in our ways, and unless you train your mind to be able to be flexible to changing and adjusting to circumstances, you're always going to make bad decisions. So if you're a real estate agent or a realtor, you need to understand and change this way of thinking. You're not a real estate agent or a realtor. You are a salesperson first and foremost. In the initial stages of speaking with a seller and a buyer, once you get the listing and you get the buyer broker's agreement, now you transition into a real estate agent. You have to change that if you want to be top notch in your profession. So changing your mindset is the most important thing, ingredient, and principle you have to change. Because guess what, guys? Our actions, what we do and what we speak about, is tied directly to how we think, and what we think and how we think. You cannot change that. Does that make sense? Okay? So, change the way you think. Now, the second step is this. And you cannot change the second step unless you change the first step. And like I said, step number 1 is the hardest thing to do because we're stubborn as human beings. We never want to admit that we're wrong. Yet we keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So number 2 is this. You have to and must change the way you train and prepare. And depending on your profession, it could be physical or mental. But what I mean by this, you have to change the way you prepare and train your mind to take different actions. Because again, your actions are tied directly to your thoughts. And your actions have influence on people. So the way you train is the way you're going to prepare. And the way you train and prepare is the way you're going to perform. Let me share an analogy with you if you don't mind. Let's say you're a boxer, right? You have to study your opponent, right? You have to know what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, so that you could train to counterpart that, right? But you still have to train and practice your jab, your uppercut, your right hook, your left hook, your combinations, your defense mechanism. The training and preparation is always harder than the actual fight. Any athlete, the training, the preparation is always harder than the actual event. You can't train one way and expect to produce a different result. It's impossible. Like the scripture says, you can't have evil thoughts and do good. You can't have good thoughts and do evil actions. But you cannot do number 2 unless you change number 1. And number 1 is the most difficult thing to do. Is to change the way you think. Does that make sense, guys? All right. So now number 3 is almost impossible unless you change number 1 and 2. And number 3 is really a vehicle. What do I mean? Number 3 is you must, and notice the word must and have to, improve and change your selling process. And the process is based upon how you think and how you prepare and train. Based on basic fundamentals, and the foundation is the selling process, which allows you to not only increase your value, but produce more sales consistently. The selling process is the vehicle, is the path. And if that path and that vehicle and that foundation is broken, or not built on basic fundamentals, it will always eventually collapse. Meaning, you won't produce more sales, you won't increase your value, you won't grow as an entrepreneur and a small business owner. Does that make sense? These are 3 very simple but very important steps, ingredients, and principles that you need to consciously make an effort to change every day and improve on it. I eat, I breathe, I live this every single day. I know that if I have wrong thoughts and a wrong mindset, my attitude is going to be wrong. I know if I have the wrong mindset, the wrong attitude, I'm going to have the wrong training and preparation that day. I know that if I have the wrong mindset, the wrong attitude, that the selling process is going to be off. And remember this, guys. Attitude is absolutely contagious. Attitude has influence. And is your attitude worth catching? Think about it. Does that make sense? I hope this was helpful. I want to thank you for sharing your time and listening to this podcast. And I want you to remember this, guys. No matter what you do as a small business owner, entrepreneur, as a salesperson, as a real estate agent, as a realtor, as a broker, whatever you do, change the way you think. If you change the way you think, and you change the way you train and prepare, and you change and improve your selling process, watch your value increase exponentially. Watch your sales absolutely explode. And here's the bonus. Watch you become a dynamic salesperson. Watch you become a master closer. And watch you become an absolute phenomenal storyteller. Thank you for your time. Have much success and prosperity. Talk to you later. Bye.